Hi, AT from CNC at Home. It's a little early in the season, but this summer is the class of 1982, their 40th anniversary. And I know a bunch of people that graduated in the class of 82 from St. Cloud Technical High School. And I thought it would be fun to put together a coaster to commemorate this 40th anniversary. So this video is going to look at how I created the artwork for this, mainly in LightBurn, although I did use Photoshop. We'll take a look at why I did that. And then also, this is a paint experiment. I had some tiles that have been sitting around painted for about 6.5 weeks. Had some tiles sitting around for about 2.5 weeks. And I also painted up some fresh tiles using 2 different kinds of paint. So we'll take a look at that as well. I used the standard white paint, but I also used the cold galvanizing coating, and that actually worked out pretty well. I've had some people tell me I should try it. I had a can, I just hadn't gotten around to doing it. This was a great opportunity to try that. So let's take a look at how we did that, and we'll head over to LightBurn and see how that all went. Remember to give this video a thumbs up. Here's the granite sign out in front of the old Tech High School building. On the left-hand side, there's kind of a logo thing, and that's what I wanted to use for this tile burn. So by taking this picture, I had hoped to go into LightBurn and do an edge trace. Unfortunately, the granite with all of its dark and light just didn't work with the edge trace. There's too many artifacts. So I took it into Photoshop and I manually traced this entire image. And this is what it ended up looking like. Not too bad. It looks fairly similar to the original. So I'm going to use that. With any tile project that I do within LightBurn, I usually start with my tile template. It's essentially either a 108 millimeter square or 110 millimeter square, depending on what I'm going to be burning. For this particular project, I'm going to bring in the 108 millimeter template. All this literally is just a square that's 108 millimeters by 108 millimeters. I have it on my tool layer 1, and this gives me a really good idea of what area I have to work with. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in my image. So let me grab that. This is the image that I created within Photoshop from the granite sign that's out in front of the high school. It comes in really big because I guess it is really big. So let's zoom out on that. I can leave it as a picture, or what I like to do with something like this, it will convert into vectors nicely. So I right click on it and do trace image. Full screen this so you can see the purple line. It looks like it's tracing very well. With the defaults, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And before I do that, down here at the bottom, there's an option to delete the image after tracing. 99% of the time, I want to get rid of the image, so I have that turned on. So now when I click OK, what I'm left with is just my vector drawing. We can see that it's on layer 1 or layer 0, the black layer. If I change it to lines, you can see that it's not filled in. So we know that it's vectors. So I'm going to want to have this filled. It's too big, obviously, for my tile, so I'll want to shrink that up. Don't know exactly how small I want it yet, but we'll just kind of have it snap to the center. What I'm going to do is have the word class of across the top, and then down at the bottom I want to have the year 1982. So this is a little big for that still, but yeah, we can do sizing a little bit later. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. I'm going to go ahead and switch to a blue layer for my text. Come over to my text item, and we'll just click somewhere here. Doesn't really matter where. And I do have it set to middle, so this will kind of stay centered as I type it in. So I'll just do All right, I have class of, and it's obviously a little big, not the font I want either, so let's change this. I want to use the, oh, there it is, right on top, Arial Rounded. And of course, this is going to be in the way. It's a little big still. Again, why don't I just turn that off so we don't see it right now, so we'll just hide that. We do want this centered up here, and it's a bit big. I also want it maybe curved. So I'm going to come over here and grab this handle, and it's going to let me bend my letters around the middle. So something like that. Still too big, so we'll just shrink the font up. Maybe let's put it at 18 millimeters. And I'm going to press Shift and select my template so that I can center this up. So that is now centered within, left and right, it's centered. And it's fairly near the top. Maybe slide that up a little bit. That was too much. By holding the Control key and using my up arrow, I can move smaller increments. We'll get fairly close to the top. Not too close, but close enough. Let's turn our shield back on. Still looking a bit big. I'll turn that off and do some more text. I want the year down here, so I'll type in 1982. Again, a different font. I have it up here. I want to use this Old English font, and I want it bigger than that. So let's go the other direction here. Let's make that bigger. Move this up. Maybe. Let's just make it 30 millimeters. See what that looks like. Nice round numbers. Again, I'm going to do Shift, select my template area, center that left and right, and then move this down by pressing the Control key and using my down arrows. Again, not too close to the bottom edge, but fairly close. Again, using 108 millimeters square, this should be, for my tiles, a good working area, so I don't have to worry too much about going off the tile as I'm burning. Let's turn our shield back on, and that definitely is too big, so we'll just select it, and we'll keep our scaling locked, and I will just, around the center point, just start shrinking it up until it looks good. Maybe something like that. I'm going to move it up a little bit as well, have it a little bit higher. Maybe something like that. Anyway, this is something you can play around with positioning, use different fonts, that sort of stuff. But this is the basic design that I wanted to do, so I can go ahead and save this, take it over to the laser, and start burning this out. Let's go ahead and do that. Here we have a tile loaded into the laser. I have the laser focused already. I'm just looking at my frame where the burn's going to happen, make sure that's in there correctly. I ended up burning several tiles. On this particular tile, you'll notice when it started burning, there was nothing there. I started the burn over, and when it gets over to where it actually does the word saint, the eye is missing. There's some other artifacts missing as well. This tile was painted about 6.5 weeks ago. So I tried on a newer tile that was done about 2.5 weeks ago, and that worked much better. I also had a tile that I painted up this same day, and that worked just a little bit better as well. I did a fourth tile that used the cold galvanizing compound. That's the one down in the lower right, and that turned out the best of all of them. So here we can see the older tile really didn't get as black as we wanted it. The 2.5 week old tile was darker. The one I did that same day, a little bit darker yet. But then the CGC, oh my goodness, look at how dark that turned out. That worked out really well. I'm going to have to use that more frequently. I had an orange and black tile that I cut this on. The school colors for Tech High School are orange and black. These tiles turned out pretty well, especially this one with the black and the orange. These are the school colors, so this one, and it really pops, that orange, that nice fluorescent orange. Turned out well. I like this one. That was a great project. I really like how the cold galvanized coating does. It turned out really nice and black, and it was easy to clean up, a lot easier than the paint. I'm going to do a bunch more of these. I have a big can of the stuff, so I'm going to do a bunch more of those, see how they turn out. For any of my friends who are watching that are part of the class of '82 from St. Cloud Technical High School, if you're interested in a coaster, you know how to get a hold of me. Give me a contact, give me a call, give me a text, whatever, and we can see what we can hook you up with. This was a fun project. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out. Have fun doing your CNC at home projects.
Oops.
Remember to give this video a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. That should be enough, don't you think?